call this meeting of the Templeton Advisory Committee to order. If everyone could please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. All right, appreciate everyone coming tonight. So the first order of business is reorganizing the committee. So I will take thoughts on that.
Historically, it's been chair, vice chair, and scribe.
Yep.
So I mean, that's.
Yep.
I'll give my input as to what we've done in the past.
Yep, absolutely.
That's not necessarily how you have to do it.
Yeah, no, I
Since you are chairing,
Yep.
the only past member that's willing to come back to us.
No, I agree. I think that's the way it should be. It's unfortunate that we don't have a full 7-member prior to doing that, but business needs to be done, so here we are. So, Deb, I'll start with you. Thoughts?
On chair? Oh, boy.
Or just anything in general, yeah.
Oh,
As far as reorgan,
Yep.
I don't know. I think you or Tony would make a fine chair, or Amy. I don't know. It's very difficult to say.
Do you have any?
Do I have
Personal?
any desire? No.
Okay.
I'm good.
is that a motion?
Playing it right down the middle.
No.
For
Not
chair?
yet. Let's all chat
Oh.
first. Wish you started down the other end, but okay.
Okay.
Amy's laughing at me like,
I appreciate the information.
thank
No,
you.
I'm just smiling.
Will, thoughts?
No, I want to take and see how them, you all are new. I want to take and see how that goes. I mean, it's really up to the entire committee to go through this process.
Okay.
I don't want to end up lending anything that will end up,
You've been through it before, though.
pardon me?
You've been through it before.
Yes.
Yep.
So.
And your input's obviously gonna be very, very valuable, so.
I've already said that what the process is, and that's
Okay.
kind of where I'm going.
That's his contribution.
Oh, excellent. Well, that's that thing,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, no.
Tony, thoughts?
Well, first, I wouldn't say we're new anymore. Most of us have a year under our
I
belt.
know, I think this is
so-
the last new thing.
Yeah, so we don't have the whole year because the fiscal year's not done. But I know I wanted to wait a year before doing any type of things, just to kind of get an idea of what goes on, so I could be comfortable. So I'm at this point willing to do whatever the committee wants.
Ooh. Do I nominate Tony
You-
DeJoy?
No, you haven't talked and he hasn't
Oh,
talked yet.
I
We haven't-
think it would be wonderful to have someone step up.
Okay. So.
Is that a motion?
I will entertain a motion.
I would like to make a motion to nominate Tony DeJoy as chairman of the advisory committee. Oh, until effective today until June 30, 2020.
Oh, you don't have to take and say that. That's,
Um,
no, it can't be till June. It's till
Till the
annual
election.
town meeting. Well, actually, it is till June.
It
till we
is.
reorganize
They had
it.
this discussion last night at the select board meeting, and that's how they did all the appointments.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily the protocol that's been used in the past.
It was
They
spoken of last
They
night.
developed that in this last year.
Okay, well, do you want me to amend it? Do you want me to not have the date?
No, that's,
Okay,
You can call it for this fiscal year, I guess.
for this fiscal year.
yeah.
Do you want me to restate?
No, next fiscal year. We're
Well,
not in the
next
fiscal year yet.
Yeah,
Fiscal year 20?
Should I start again?
sure.
Go for it.
I would like to make a motion to nominate Tony DeJoy for chairman of the advisory committee effective until the beginning of fiscal year 2021. 2021.
I would suggest that you make it effective today.
Effective today,
For FY '20.
until forever.
Well,
No, until
not
FY
forever,
20.
Until forever.
well, until the next reorganization.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
probably, maybe that's a good way of putting it, till the next
can never
reorganization.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
That's
we're
true,
not-
because we may choose to reorganize. If we seat 2 more people, we may choose to reorganize.
Thank you.
In the last,
And those are the blank sheets that you gotta fill out.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
in the last year, 8 years, or 9 years, there's only been one time that this committee has not reorganized in June. And this will be the second one.
Oh, okay, because it's the end of May.
Right.
This is the
It's-
second
it's-
because it's the end of May.
Historically, it's been in June. Only once has it, was in July.
Okay. All right.
Okay, do you hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any other discussion?
I'm not sure what that look is, but.
Because he has an opportunity that they can end up saying what he wants.
Yep.
Mhm.
No, I don't have anything to say.
Okay.
I don't have to accept. I'm not declining, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's
Well,
what that opportunity was for.
that's what I wanted to hear,
I'm not declining, so.
because you were hemming and hawing.
No, I said in my statement that I would, I'll do whatever the committee wants.
Okay, anything else? All right, on the motion, Tony,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Will?
Yes, I'm sorry, the way you said that, it's like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be there, so it's his.
And yes.
Yay.
All right, do we switch chairs now, or
Yeah, connected immediately.
No, you can go through it,
go through the entire
And then-
thing?
That's
and
the
then he
entire
just-
thing.
takes the baton.
However
off.
you feel comfortable.
I'm still working this entire thing out, so, yeah. Okay, so
It's
we
good to
have,
get the experience, by the way, of
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
going
Yes,
through, I mean,
yeah.
the process.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, so we have chair, vice chair. I'll go down mine. Deb, thoughts?
So as for myself, I still feel like I want to keep learning,
Mm-hmm.
so I would pass on that opportunity for myself.
Sure. Will, thoughts?
No, it's up to the committee that they can end up, I'm gonna sit here and, I'm here as a resource,
And we do appreciate that.
and I try to help steer, to what we should be doing.
And you do a great job of that.
I hope so.
No, you do.
Right.
Sometimes I
There's-
look back and I
there's-
say, well,
no,
maybe I
there's-
shouldn't have done that.
Well, there's times that, but I think you're a great resource to us.
Absolutely.
I actually would like to make a motion to nominate Lee Guthrie as vice chair.
I second that motion.
Okay.
It's up to you to take and end up accepting or declining.
I
Don't look at me.
I will
my
accept if
God.
the motion passes, so.
The motion passes. You have to
No,
decide
we gotta
right now
vote.
if you want
We
to.
have to vote.
You
But
can't
he-
vote.
this is open
I'm
comment
saying
if
I'm
he
not
really doesn't.
declining it, yes,
Yeah,
so.
Again, another not declining it.
Okay, so any other discussion on that? Okay, on the motion, Tony,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Will,
Yes.
and yes.
It's another big
All
thing.
right.
Which one of you two wants to do the?
So we do need
Now
a
you know
new scribe.
now you know you can't take scribing and do the
Yeah.
vice.
Right.
But that said, I do have a template that whoever takes it, it's all copy paste.
Okay.
Super, super easy, so, so let's move on to that then. Thoughts?
I'm happy to contribute in that way.
Okay, because I know you've done some
Mhm.
notes in the past, yeah?
You, by the way, you can nominate yourself.
Okay.
According to Robert's rules,
Awkward, but.
no, according to Robert's rules, she can say, I'd like to end up taking that position, I nominate myself. I mean, that's legitimate, by the way, okay?
Well, how I would comment on that, and I appreciate that, but with, hopefully we're gonna get 2 more members.
Yes.
And so.
Soon, yes.
So with the possibility, I don't know how you guys feel of a vice and a clerk in the same family, where you guys could potentially both be gone at the same time, so maybe share the wealth a little bit, but I don't know what your thoughts are on that. Meaning, if Deb's willing.
I think it's a good idea because there are potentially times where
Yeah.
we're both obligated to be elsewhere.
Yeah.
So
And then this way, if Lee and I, because have been a couple occasions where Lee and I have been traveling, again, I'm going with a 7-member committee, to where then
Yeah.
Debbie, you'll have to run the meeting. Which should get you in line for
Yep,
next.
so you'll be, you'll be here.
Let's not get ahead of
What?
ourselves.
No, I'm gonna stay right over here for
Is
now.
there a
but
second?
Yes, if, you know, of course.
There-
Yes, I second that.
Oh,
Okay.
I second Deb's motion.
Did we have a?
Oh, wait.
I
was
never
there
made a motion.
Oh.
No one
I
ever
didn't
made
think there was
the
actually
motion.
a motion
All
yet.
right, well, then I make a
She-
motion to nominate Deb for a position of clerk.
Okay,
Second.
all right, second by Tony. Any discussion? All right, excellent. On the motion, Tony?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes?
Will?
Yes.
And yes.
One other thing, Mr. Chairman.
Any openings?
if they can end up-
Yes.
One other thing that they can pass on, since we've gone through that process. Precedence has been set historically that the chairman attends the Board of Selectmen's meeting for the fact that there's times when the selectmen have had items come up, and that has
Sure.
brought up agenda items from, since he has to make up the agenda items, so that as liaison,
Yep.
I would end up saying that, if you wanna make it formal, I will end up saying that, but historically, we haven't done that, it's just always been the chairman.
I will do my best to attend when I can. I know they have a meeting next week that I can't attend. But I will do my best to attend the meetings.
Okay.
So I think that's just,
Just remember, you are chairman, you can end up also delegating if you can't make it to your vice chair.
They have recordings too,
yeah, they
so
also have
Right.
recordings.
I mean,
we're
that's-
all potentially available for that
that's
as
pot-
well.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
I think one other thing that, in reorganizing, Lee, and I don't know if you were gonna talk about this, we need to, nominate someone to capital planning with Mike being gone. I think that's the only committee that we
Yes.
actively participate in.
Yeah,
I'm
yes.
not sure why we don't have a liaison to the school committee, but,
All right, can we hold off on that until the next,
we can. I don't think it's critical to do it today.
yeah, well.
you
so
might
it's-
wanna take and do that today, because you end up having, some of this information needs to be, shared with the selectmen as to.
Sure.
Mhm.
I'm just thinking, hopefully,
Maybe two
we
more
can get
people.
2 more people on. So I'm trying to balance
So,
reorganizing the committee with respect to whoever else might come on board, hopefully shortly, so.
So with Jeff being here, Jeff, do you see a need to immediately appoint someone to capital planning, or our next meeting will probably be June 20th?
I don't think there's a real hurry. I mean, we did last night at select board, but.
Yeah, I know, but that was kind
They're
of,
not.
they're not gonna meet.
They're gonna be meeting tomorrow, next month,
Depends on when he wants to meet.
so.
Did they name anybody from the, general public?
It's select board.
No.
So unless anyone else has any thoughts on that, my suggestion is to table that until the next meeting.
Okay.
You need a motion for that?
I don't,
No.
no.
I don't think so, no.
All right, so approval of last meeting minutes. So these were the one at the auditorium in the middle school.
You can turn over the chair now, Mr. Temporary Chair.
Can I do that now?
Yes, yes,
Yeah?
you can.
All right, Tony, you wanna take
Since
it?
you have,
Sure.
since you have an elected.
I could do it from right
elected
here
chair.
today. After that, I'll get in the middle, but I'll just do it from here today. There's no reason for us to move.
Hmm.
The camera reaches everybody, so.
Okay.
Okay, so.
Mr. Chair, I turn it to you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you.
Former clerk. So approval of town meeting, pre-town meeting, I'm sorry, let me back that up. Approval of minutes of the last meeting, which was at the town meeting. Amy passed them out.
Oh, yeah,
It
do you
was
need a
very-
copy, Deb?
Yes, please.
So they're double-sided,
Oh, you
but
can have it.
it's
No, I
all,
already have
this,
it.
it's all the same, just
I already
pretend
have
it's,
it.
All right, just pretend it's single-sided.
Okay.
I'll talk about the copier later.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of May 15th.
Second.
Any discussion? No? Everybody had a chance to look at them?
I might still be reading through. So the majority of it was just the slight changes that we made,
Mhm.
this word to that word, for the previous meeting minutes.
Just tell me when you're ready, Debbie. We'll vote.
I'm good, yep,
Debbie? We're voting on the minutes. We have a motion.
okay,
Thank you.
yes.
Well,
On the motion
on the
to
motion
accept
for
the
the
minutes.
minutes?
Oh, you gotta speak up. Because I didn't understand what you said.
On the motion to approve meeting minutes?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
And I'm yes. Okay, next is the invoice for the pre-town meeting.
These are the ones we have to sign.
So with Mr. Bennett here, he can, I mean, obviously, we have to pay it, and I'll get with him on the procedures on how to pay it. It's for $75.37. And he's already filled this out.
How much was the amount?
$75.37.
Ooh, that's a lot more than it was the last time.
I used,
It's a copy
I
there.
had computer, I was in the shop, so my written template that I got, the small, I used one of the older templates, and, I sent it in, and she sent, she sent the bill, I questioned her, and she says, well, it's this big by this much.
Oh,
And, cause there was more stuff, there was more detail in it.
yep. The size
I
of.
sent the smaller one to Lee.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
That
so
was
you
the,
took
like, the
two
35.
line, like two
Yeah.
widths.
Yeah, and I just forwarded you that, Tony,
Okay,
so the
The template?
template that he sent, yeah.
okay, great.
To go this way is
Yeah.
less money.
What was the amount on the
So
bill?
if he had made it really long, it would have been
75.
because it's wide.
Oh.
75.37.
$75.37, yeah.
That's,
Oh,
we
we
we're
don't-
budgeted for that
I mean, we have,
anyways.
yeah, we did. We have to pay for this anyway, so.
That is the end of April, there was $516
Yep.
and some cents in there.
Yeah, if you could.
There's sufficient funds in there.
If you could email me what our funds balance are, because I hadn't been keeping track of it, so I can, I mean, well, I guess it doesn't really matter, because we're gonna change in a month. Okay.
Yep.
PBA that I got.
So I don't think we need.
I would-
We don't need a motion for
We
this.
need a
just
motion for this,
approve it.
Yes, I'll make a motion to pay the bill to the Gardner News for the pre-town, and the amount that was recommended by, or spelled out by the chairman.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Debbie?
Yes.
Will?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
And I'm yes. Everybody just please sign that.
Other way, there you go.
So the next item, so some of these things that were on the agenda item were asked by, oh, I'm sorry.
Just one thing, Mr. Chairman, just, since you're new to the thing, I'm not sure that you understand. You should keep a copy for our records,
Okay.
because one of the duties that you have inherited is to end up writing the annual report. If the past chairman will share all the invoices that he has, along with any expenditures of monies, whether that be for end of the year or reserve, those are things that have to be reported,
Okay.
okay? I'm sorry to,
No, it's quite all right.
I just wanna take and end up making sure that you keep,
Once everybody signs it,
keep
I'll-
copies.
I will.
Yeah, it's important to keep copies, because one of the bylaw does call for us to end up reporting on our duties, and that's part of it.
Okay, thank you. So some of these items were asked by the town administrator for us to put on for this meetings and for now through the transfer. Lessons learned for the budget season, I'm not sure we're really done with the budget season with the thing. I think give everybody just a quick chance to comment on what they saw. I know it was a real eye-opening experience for myself and how the process works, and have to think about how we can maybe do some things better. But good cooperation with the select board, I thought. I know in the past it hadn't always been that way, and then with the new select board, I think that it'll only get better.
It's been getting better since we started that book presentation. Like I said, the first year was, cause I think it was just new. The second year got better, the last year got better.
Amy,
What?
any comments on lessons learned from budget season?
No, I was just looking for, something popped into my head. I can't find the right document, but, I think we're still in the curve until the end of the fiscal year.
Yeah.
And once we do, if there's exceptions and things like that, that need to be approved at the end of June.
Lee?
So I thought the way that the select board, the advisory committee, the school committee, I thought we worked really, really well. I think the challenge that we have and will probably continue to have is communicating what we talk about with the town. And I don't have an easy solution for that problem, unfortunately. I think if people realize the ramifications of how they vote, things might go differently. And again, we just need to just keep working on that problem, see if we can solve it. So, but other than that, internally, I thought we worked really, really well. So quite happy about that.
Well,
You know I'm gonna have a comment
well, of course you are. I expect
on a
you to.
couple of things. First of all, the school budget. We represent the people of the community, and it's our duty to end up trying to represent them as to what we feel is best for them. It seems that our recommendation as a committee was out of step with at least the vote substantially way out of line. Even though it got passed, there was pushback at the annual town meeting. You saw that there was some negative.
Mhm.
My experience has been that the folks that are probably more negative don't necessarily always attend the meeting because they get looked upon when they vote. If they vote in the negative or positive or whatever on a subject, they don't like to take and shit at except in the when they vote. And that's a long-standing thing that I've seen in this community and have heard from other folks. So, I mean, it shows that not only we were out of step, school committee was out of step, and the selectmen and the administrator were out of step with where the town was going, how the town was going to be. And as I had said, I thought it was excessive. I mean, I tried to balance that. As you heard me say, that I thought there could be an override. It was excessive. That was my thought, and I think the voters, more than willingly told us as a community what their thoughts were.
So
And
can
it wasn't only the elderly.
So I was gonna ask you that. So without really having access to demographics of who
Yeah.
voted, it's kinda hard to, I don't know that we were necessarily out of step with the community. I think we were out of step with the 1,100 odd voters at the election. So,
Well, they
but,
spoke.
but that, they absolutely did speak. I mean, town meeting spoke, and so, you know, maybe people just figured I don't need to go to town meeting and I'll just vote.
That's
But-
correct.
But without really understanding the demographics of what age groups voted and why, I mean, I think we realize that we have this new school, we have to open this new school, we have to give our kids the best education. And I'm not saying that the people don't want that, they probably do,
Right,
but I can understand that that was a pretty big override.
that's basically where I was at, and what I felt that the people in the community would be at is the level of the override, not necessarily an override. As you heard me say, I wish that we had been able to end up doing our process better when we made our recommendation. We asked a lot of good questions at the pre-town on the budget and all, but I wished we had voted and at least showed some level of cutting the budget to end up showing that we were trying to balance the fact that we had such a large override. It might have at least signaled for some folks to vote in the positive.
I think
I
we
mean,
tried,
that's my general feelings.
I thought we attempted that, but I think maybe we were a little late doing that.
Yeah, and I feel that the number that I had quoted would have gone a long way to end up at least getting some people, I don't, I can't say it would have passed or not passed, but I think it would have gone a long way to help it pass with some community members and seeing that there was an effort to end up taking some out of the town's budget. And as I said, I wish the school committee, now we're forced in our position here, along with the selectmen, to go through that budget and make substantial cuts. I don't know what the school committee has chosen at this particular point not to take and end up certifying a budget, whatever that number is. If it's what was shown on the selectmen's meeting, that's probably in the vein of what I was thinking. I thought that, my thoughts were that if we had done some cuts, we could have probably got somewhere between 100 and 200, not affected anybody's employment, made it a tighter budget, yes, guaranteed, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, but it would have at least helped spur people to take and end up seeing that the town, as far as our ability, was to take and end up working with the town and also the school committee and making some concessions as to, okay, we'll cut, not to the point where it's gonna end up affecting people, but we'll make some cuts that are gonna hurt, but I think we could probably get through it. I mean, I truly believe that. I truly believe that as a member that's been sitting on this committee for a while, I truly believe what I said. So those are the 2 points, to me, that we ended up having excess there. We were, as a committee, and as all school committee as well as selectmen, we're out of step with where the voters were as to how much the override was gonna be and the impact to their pocketbook, not what we really, I mean, I'm sure if we had folks that had a lot of resources, it might have been differently. But we have to take it into consideration as to the demographics of the whole community and not necessarily our own ability or inability to take and end up paying for an override. I mean, that was the ongoing for a long period of time. I mean, it's not like some of us are going to be here for the next 30 years to take and pay that. Some of us at my age, I don't think I'm gonna be here to even see the school totally paid off. But did I think that we needed a school? Yes. That's another subject where,
Yeah, and I think one of the things with it being an override, what people didn't realize is you could always do an underride too, to take it away. That there is that option. So, because once you do an override, it's permanent.
that's correct.
And I guess that was the only way, because they couldn't have done a debt exclusion for that money, so they had to do the override, but there was, and it was never really brought up, but the option would be, let it go for a couple years and you do an underride. But I understand people's,
Well, the problem
with
there,
that, but hold on just a second. I understand with that, plus the school and the new police department coming on, you know, people's taxes would have been raised significantly, and I, you know, nobody wants their taxes raised, and I understand that some people's ability to pay versus others is not, and that's, one thing I try to do is look at things as a whole community and not individually, so.
yeah, I mean, I have to agree with you on some of that, because if you look at the override per se, even if we had end up coming and try to do an underride in a couple of years, I don't think that's, because I foresee that, okay, if the school budget gets recertified for a lower number, I'm almost positive that they will come back for more money next year. So to take and end up saying that, and how much, I don't know. I mean, I can't speak for the school board, but I would think it would probably more than the 2.5%. That's always been the issue in this state, is the school always comes in typically for more than the 2.5%, and that's the rub of trying to get an override if it's substantial like this one here. If it had been smaller, we might have had a chance.
I also think if the state paid what they were supposed to in regional transportation costs, that we would have never had to do an override. And I don't know if our elected officials, I read something in the paper that Senator Goby was talking about it, but whether they got anywhere or it's going anywhere, I don't know.
It
Well,
went up
to
about
me,
$2 million, and I think they're at like 81%. But when you take the $2 million increase over what the governor proposed, it's, you know, it ain't the 700,000 that Templeton's paying.
No.
So it's,
to me, the selectmen need to help drive that with other communities, is to end up talking to their representatives to take and try to get, especially for a regional district out here. I mean, we,
Yep.
They were here, I was at that select board meeting, they did that.
Yeah, they
They
are.
had the reps here, there's a whole community of them with like
right,
Pioneer Valley and
right,
stuff.
and that's really needs to be the push to take and end up correcting this. I mean,
Right,
If you
it's gonna be a
recall-
strong push.
Yeah, if you recall, when we were talking about this at town meeting, I asked the select board if they're engaging to try to help do this, and they said they were.
Yeah. They
So-
have to.
So
I
I
mean-
have to, yeah,
Yeah.
and they know that, and I'm sure the TA is
because
doing what they can.
there's a lot of small communities with regional school districts, like Quabbin Regional in 2013 or 14. They got a letter from the commissioner, they were going down the same path, and that's just a few years ago. So I know the gateway cities are either suing or in the process of doing it, with regards to state funding. And a lot of the small towns and school districts have talked, I don't know if there's anything, you know, big formal push, but that has to happen.
Yep.
Hmm.
Because, you know, like I said, 2 million, 52 school districts, what's that gonna amount to? That's like $30 increase per student.
That's nothing.
yeah.
You might need money more than we do, so maybe you guys should keep it down there, because I mean, it does nothing.
When they spell that amount of money out for all the districts, it's very insignificant, and it has to be substantially
Yeah.
more.
Oh, it does.
So, I mean, those are my two things that I see that we could have learned a lesson on those going forward and try to do that. I mean, as far as working with the selectmen on the budget, yes, I don't oppose that, on having a joint session, but I still think that even before that whole process it's really incumbent upon us to start that process earlier and talk about it, so with the departments, if we have questions, have the departments come in and ask questions, and actually query them prior to that meeting, because now it lends them to take and think about their budget.
Right,
As to what they really, really need if they get hard questions.
Right, so I think the only problem with that is, we can request they come in. I think to our committee, they don't have to. The select board that wants them to come in, they have to come in. But for,
That hasn't always been the case.
Yeah.
I mean, early on, when I first got on, the first couple of years, we had every department.
well, I understand, but you know, a lot of people, they've been here all day, they're not gonna wanna stay for the meeting. So I think, you know, this fall, we'll start looking at it as far as, okay, is there a better way to do it? Can we get the budgets early and get lists of questions to people and get, you know, email responses or whatever?
I mean, we should also be inputting to the administrator as to what our thoughts are as far as the guidelines for the budget. I mean, since we have to take and end up playing into this, that's the role of the advisory or finance committee, is to take and weigh in as to, okay, you need to take and cut 2%, you need to level fund, you need to take and you can end up doing 2%, 1%, or something like that, at
Well,
least
and I
lend our
think-
voice into that process.
I think you start at level funding and go down from there, so.
No, but I'm saying, I'm saying that at least we have that input. That doesn't necessarily mean the budget will follow that process.
I understand. Okay. Debbie? Oh,
Do you
Mr. Bennett?
With regards to like lessons learned, the conversation I had with Carter, shortly after town meeting, one of the things that and I think he mentioned that he, at a meeting when he was at pre-town, but, with regards to the warrant, and I've tried to do this a couple times in the last couple of years, was don't wait until the pre-town, have sort of like a pre-town, where you don't, you're not at the last minute asking all the questions about the
Right.
warrant.
Okay.
You know, get that
Yes,
done.
he said something to
And
me
that's
about
what
that too.
He said he'd like to work and improve on,
Yeah.
so he's not sitting here, and we're not asking questions, you know, 2 weeks away from town meeting.
Right, with
If you
no
get
time to
those-
fix
Yeah,
it,
he did mention something to me about
Ask-
that too.
You know, do that earlier, 'cause
Yep.
when you get it, I know it's a pain, and it's.
The whole
it's,
process needs to start real early, because you see some communities, not close to us, but some communities actually have a school budget in January. Do I expect to take and end up seeing a school budget out of this district in January or February? No, I would hope by maybe late March.
Well,
We
I'd
had
have to.
that
when
then
this
this
budget
year, that's when we
goes,
had
right?
it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to understand their process, and
Yep.
is there something in their process or how their processes work that's the best they can do? That's when they have all the information they need. So, Debbie?
I really liked when we met with the Board of Selectmen and all the departments came in. I acknowledge and understand the importance of having them talk to us as well, but I liked having that shared meeting. Knowing how the process goes this year, I think I can better prepare myself to ask better questions when we're at that meeting. I did like getting the budget book, but I also liked getting the document in Excel, because I was able to take a look and just double check formulas and, you know, and having that document, if you're adding in, you know, an advisory committee column where you're
Yep.
recommending numbers, I like that, but, I think you bring up some very good points, that if we're able to schedule that type of, analysis earlier, that would be very beneficial.
Yeah.
When we got at it, I think I felt like we were just so close that
It
it wasn't as feasible, yeah.
Right.
But I agree
A-
that.
And I understand, and I understand budgets change, but if you end up getting early on in the budget process, the changes aren't gonna be whole budgets or significant of changes. You can deal with the smaller changes later into the process when you've dealt with the majority of the budget
Right.
already.
Yep.
So, but but I felt it was good. Having that all under our belts now, I know I'd like to personally, for me, kind of visit some of the departments so I can understand what exactly they're doing, what's going into their budget, and more of that. So, well, I think a few of them had said we could, so.
Yeah.
So that's something that I'd like to do this year. But yeah, overall, I think it went well. I mean, we're not in a great place right now, and it's still going to be a very big learning curve as to how we get through this process. But we'll see.
I'm
how it
just gonna
goes.
take and end up showing one more thing I just remembered here. We went through and we had warrant articles that could end up increasing the fees for different stuff. Over this last weekend, I don't know if anybody else, why would they come to somebody that has empty nesters and talk about children in college and money? I have no idea. My first question to him is, just as you're soliciting, do you have a license to do that in this community? And if you don't, you need to go to the police station and do that. There is no follow-up, and I'm gonna pass this on to the chairman so he can share that with the select board, is that we had somebody soliciting out of state, out of Tennessee, and I'm saying, why are you coming to my house? I'm not sure.
We used to, when I first moved here, would have people, and obviously it wasn't this guy, but had people come around selling books and different things for education thing. I haven't seen them in years and years and years.
No, it's been a long time.
And my neighborhood, there, at the time, was a lot of kids.
Right,
So-
and the reason I bring that up is they're supposed to have a solicitor's license to go around that they can do these things. I mean, we brought up the fines, who's gonna go after them if they're not aware of it?
Right.
What
And
did
they
he,
haven't
what
gone-
did he say when you said that to him?
I got a yeah. And I went, no.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think if they said that, and if Jeff, you'd hang out, I'll just give you this information
And that was,
you can bring to your
that was
board
over
next
this
week.
holiday weekend.
Yeah, okay.
I
There,
mean,
there were a lot of people, like I said, out of the Midwest that would come around and, try to sell you books for your kids and stuff, and I think actually we bought a few. So, but I mean,
I'm not against them, but
no,
I'm just saying, if you're gonna come around,
Do it the right way.
yeah.
do it the right way.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a process where they have to get permission, whether it's a solicitor's license, do they have one for the state that covers it? I honestly don't know the answer. So, but we'll get this to the select board and
If you would,
see what they
yeah.
say.
If I could add one other thing, so we're talking about overrides, we're talking about trimming budgets. What the people in town, hopefully watching this, need to realize is, from a revenue perspective, you've got your taxes and you've got businesses. And there seems to be an air of groups of people who don't want more businesses coming into town.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then there's only one other way to pay for stuff.
Right.
So you either raise the taxes or you bring in business. And
Right.
I think we've hurt ourselves as a town over the years by rejecting businesses that could have substantially reduced
Right.
the need to raise our taxes. And I just hope that
That's-
people going forward
Yep.
realize that's the reality. That's the only
So-
way to solve this problem, so.
I have to agree with you, because I understand the marijuana growing thing. It's in the same neighborhood as a McLean Hospital was
Yeah.
gonna come in, and it was the last stages where the people would come in for rehab. It wasn't that they had drug addicts in
Yeah.
there, and the town turned it down. And they had a good reputation somewhere, and we turned them down, and in other communities, if you listen to what was said by other communities, they were very good to the communities. They ended up supplying monies,
Yeah.
for different stuff.
Sure.
So
And
really,
it's not just that, like marijuana aside.
No, I'm just
Just-
saying that's,
Yeah.
that's just one example.
Yeah.
We've had other examples in the fact that I'm sure that we all go down Route 2A to that mall.
Oh, yeah.
Some of that should have been on exit 19.
Yeah?
Oh, yes.
And I don't know if everybody realized it, but there was one individual that came from another community where Walmart was going in and left there because they didn't want to, and they were one of the contributors that can end up pushing back on that mall on 19. It's unfortunate, we lost it, that's the way it goes.
So, yeah, I agree with that. And I don't think a lot of the details on the company that wants to buy Baldwinville Elementary were really released because there's not a purchase and sale for the property yet. So I think once the details come out, it's actually, the potential is to be, I think lucrative is maybe an extreme word, but it's gonna help the town budget-wise. And honestly, you're not gonna know what's in there unless you happen to know what's in there. It's a grow facility, they're not distributing, they are selling, but not from that location. They sell to distributors, so.
Well, Winchendon did something else, and I'm surprised that, I don't know it, because I wasn't on the committee, is for the Veterans Outreach in Winchendon. I thought that was a very.
So we looked at everything,
Did
Will.
you?
Sheila came in, the veterans agent came in, she had reached out to some veterans organization that expressed interest. We literally got one proposal, and it was from this group.
That's sad, it really is.
Right.
And that's been the problem in
Right.
this community for some time, is
Right.
we have different things and we can't get more than one proposal, which really cripples us to end up establishing a better tax base.
Right. So, and then one of the other things, I don't know what happened, maybe somebody on the committee does, or maybe Jeff does, is that auto auction that was gonna go at the corner of Baldwinville Road and Route 2. The land's for sale now, so they're not putting the auto auction there.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I didn't
No,
know that.
it's,
Uh,
I think the people that own that was that same company that was on the news where the unlicensed driver hit somebody,
Oh, really?
and I think it's
Because of the lawsuits?
lawsuit or
Oh,
something, but
okay.
yeah, that's,
Okay, I didn't know
that's,
that.
that chunk
Yeah.
is for sale.
Because they've got a 15-year lease, if you look into it, and they're selling it for over $7 million. Let's put it this way, it's on sale for over $7 million.
Okay.
And there's another 80-something acres that's right next to it, which could lend itself to, I mean, believe it or not, I think at one time, and I think you can verify this, Jeff, wasn't there one of the, like Home Depot or Lowe's
Lowe's was.
Lowe's.
were looking at that at one particular
One
time? I
they
mean,
were looking at several sites.
that would have lend itself very nicely to that. It was an on and off, it would have, we could have taxed them very nicely. I'm not saying overtax, but I mean, we could have got some revenues in, because
That's what we need, and it brings jobs,
Right, I
it
mean,
brings
that-
people,
that-
yep.
that mall is bringing in a lot to Athol,
Sure is.
which would have really helped our tax
Oh, yeah.
situation.
That's
Well,
absolutely
the
would've.
concerns about traffic, like, you drive by there's no traffic at all.
Yeah.
So
They've done such a
that's-
good job
They,
They-
yes,
they-
taking
they
care
took
of
care
the
of it.
flow and getting everybody off of Route.
You can see them
Up
all
to
coming
A
out,
and-
though.
Right, but it's a nice flow,
Yeah,
because
it
my
is.
aunt lives right near there, and it's
No.
smooth.
Yep.
And it's
There's
There was
not the
not one
it's
congestion
time
getting
they
bigger and bigger by the
predicted.
day.
There was
so-
not one time that you go there that the grocery store is not,
Packed.
Yes.
parking lot is just over.
Yep.
Well, it's
Yep.
very typical of that particular store, because I've been to them all over, and they're always like that.
It's a boon.
Okay.
Yes,
so
it
that-
is, it's very good.
That's lessons learned. Budget, versus actual, the budget report. I did not see one for this month.
No,
I
not
haven't
yet
seen one
either.
in a
There
while.
is one, the last one that we received was on February 29th.
Right.
We did not end up going through that. That was at the end of 3/31.
I would say that that's kinda OBE
That's kinda
now.
old.
Yeah.
I did make a copy.
Okay.
That's what I was
If
looking
the
for, mine
chair-
wouldn't open.
Chair wants to, they can end up seeing that. I have my own copy, but
Thank you. I will email Kelly. I think she's back.
Yeah, she was in today.
And any emails.
I mean, it's the end of
any-
the month,
yeah,
so
any
she should really
emails-
be-
Right, any emails that I send, I will copy Carter and Adam on it, just so of course, the committee too, but just so they can,
Yeah.
so they know that we emailed somebody in there,
Sure.
one of their department heads, so.
Yeah, it's nice to keep, Mr. Chairman, it's nice to keep abreast of what communications you do have so that
Yeah. Oh, no, I save every
we're
email.
aware.
I save every email and I,
Did I give you the password to the advisory email?
Well, don't say it now, this is a recorded meeting.
yes. Yes, but you didn't tell me where I go to get it, so we'll talk about that after this.
Which one?
Look here, purple-haired lady.
By the-
My
by the-
hair is regular.
By the way, we have two emails, one that the town has on its site,
Right,
okay? And that's the Templeton Advisory.
yeah.
And there was also another one prior to us establishing this one on the town website.
Yeah.
We had another email, historically, you can look back at that, and that was a Gmail, and we haven't
Nah,
changed
I'm just gonna deal with the town one, but what I'll do is I'll check with Holly, so anytime an email's sent to the advisory committee, it automatically sends an email to the 5 of us. You can set up a rule to do that.
Yeah.
So this way, if I happen to be out of town and don't see it, Lee might get it, or you might get it, whatever.
Yeah.
So
The reason I mentioned the other one is for historical information that might be pertinent to something that you wanna do.
Yeah, okay, thanks. The next one, transfers for FY, we don't have any transfer requests right now. Carter asked that through July 15th, we put it on our agenda, so we'll do so.
Okay.
Special town meeting, right now, special town meeting was tentatively set for the 18th of June. I think it was the 18th of June.
I think it was
19th,
18th, 19th.
somewhere around there. I don't think that's gonna happen then, because
If the school doesn't do anything, what?
so the school committee's meeting next week, but we don't really know what they're gonna do. So until they decide what they're gonna do, then the select board's gonna need a couple weeks to figure out what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
So I would anticipate late July, probably at the earliest, for a special town meeting. And with the fact that I know we're gonna cancel next week's meeting because we won't have a quorum, and that's why we're really meeting today, that we really don't have time to do a pre-town meeting, so.
Yeah, oh, that's right.
There was not enough time there's not
Next
enough
week we won't
time
be here.
to take and
This is
end up doing it
graduation.
in June because of the fact that
Right.
if you watch the selectmen's meeting, there
It's not gonna
needs to be
happen.
at least 18 days when they receive it, and there's no 18 days for
Right.
the scheduled one. So that really, and even if they have it on the 4th and they certify a budget, it comes to the selectmen, and the selectmen's next meeting is on the
Next week. They have one scheduled for next week.
but they're meeting at the same time as the school, so they can't.
I think the school committee's meeting the 4th and the selectmen are meeting the 5th. But that's not enough time to
The 5th?
digest
That's
anything.
not enough
No, it's
time
not
to
enough
get
time for
this
legally for
certified.
the
Yeah.
notification or
And then
whatever.
for the notification for everything, so, like I said, I don't see the special town meeting for a while.
Yep.
The school budget, we just talked about that. We don't know what they're gonna
TBA.
do, so we'll keep that on the agenda and we'll discuss it as more information comes. Town budget, FY20 budget process, I think we kinda beat that to death a little while ago, so unless anybody else has any further comments, I don't know that we need to regurgitate anything.
Not on that.
I guess I have a question because we got the email from Carter, and I know we don't know what's happening with the school, but he said he was looking to trim off like 200,000 initially, you know, and was looking for our input, so just historically, like,
Yeah.
how does, like, who makes those decisions, how does that work?
He will initiate that and pass it on to the selectmen.
Okay.
And then
Hmm?
during our
They already
process,
found some
okay,
money.
we can end up looking at that at the pre-town or before
Yeah.
and make our recommendations. Will it be the same as what he's suggesting? Maybe,
Probably.
maybe not. I have some thoughts on that as to what is available to cut.
Yeah, I mean, I think you
mean,
could
and
look
it
through
may
the
be
budget
different than
book
what he
and
has.
say, okay, you know, and honestly, $2,000 here or $5,000 there adds up,
Mhm.
Oh, it does.
so.
Absolutely.
I mean, even if we were to take and end up cutting, like I said, some of the stuff that you can cut without affecting people's, you can still go into the budgets. And I'm not talking about when we had talked about the 5%.
Yeah, you can't.
Is you could end up going into budgets and probably taking 1%. 1% on all the budgets could mean a substantial amount of money. I mean, I haven't gone and checked that. I mean, and I'm not talking about salaries, I'm talking about expenses.
Yeah, so
And
you're
the
probably
one
only, you're
thing
only
that
talking about
saves you-
$40,000 or $50,000.
The one thing that saves you is, as long as you don't end up affecting the emergency reserve, come the end of the year, you have that emergency. That's why I always try to support as higher emergency reserve as
Right.
you can. And have a tighter budget, but emergency reserve, so that you force the department heads to take and end up working on a constrained budget, and if they can do it, that's kudos to them. If they can't, they have an outlet to take and end up saying, I can't make it, and here's why I can't make it. Here's some expenses that I couldn't even anticipate, or we didn't budget for these.
Right.
I mean, those are my thoughts.
Okay, any other thoughts on the budget? One thing Carter mentioned to me last night, because nobody else was there, was they have that, the Templeton Phillipston Committee of joining the fire departments or the dispatch, and they're, I believe he sent an email out on a little committee he's putting together, and wanted to offer it up to anybody that might wanna, on our committee, kind of be a representative. He did say we had to, and his only concern was that they might meet during the middle of the day. So if anybody, if I can find the email, I'll send it back out to everybody, and if anybody's interested in doing that.
I don't
let me
remember
know.
seeing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if not, I'll email him and, get done.
Will you forward that so we can take a
Yeah.
look at it? Okay.
Some general things before we,
Yeah, I was gonna go with
Yeah.
member comments and,
the DSL sent out a thing about the new officials forum. I don't know if anybody signed up for them. Even though it's past the date, it's still possible. Let's put it this way, I know it's possible. All you have to do is make sure you end up getting a hold of our representative for the finance committees, and Miss Baker. She's very willing to take and help out if you wanna go, and that's on a Thursday, the 6th. The other thing, and I'll pass this down to I don't know if everybody receives that.
Got it, yeah.
I don't recall seeing it.
Yeah. You
I
sign
did,
up,
and then
by the way, you
disregarded
sign
it
up,
because it's
you
the
sign up,
6th.
if you haven't signed up for this, you should sign up for the stuff from DLS
Yeah,
and DOR.
I get that, yeah.
Yeah, and if you do, those are very important things that you should end up
I'll
reading.
pass that down to Debbie and let her take a look at that.
And
I
the
know
other,
I got
the other
email.
thing is that the administrator ended up putting a thing out there's a meeting for cannabis.
On the
Uh,
4th.
That's on the 4th.
Yeah, on the 4th,
Yeah.
so that if you're able to, and I just wanna bring that up as the availability.
Right, that's a good point.
Oh, yeah.
There's a session on the 4th about all the different things for the cannabis.
Yeah.
Debbie, any other comments?
I don't.
Lee?
I would just like to thank the former chair and vice chair, so Jeff, thank you very, very much. Your information has been incredibly helpful over the last year. Mike, although you're not here, if you see this, I wanna thank you as well, and best of luck with, being on the Board of Selectmen.
Echo those comments. Amy?
I don't have any comments.
I have no other comments. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll
So
make a
moved.
motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
I.
Aye.